Your left elbow towards your right shoulder.
See what some cool things start to come.
There's Joe.
Yeah. See, now you're standing up, we can see you.
Aren't you sharing this presentation?
Oh, and you have to join because are you protecting the power plant?
Yeah, that's Rebecca's computer. Oh, podcasting. Big million. Audio.
It just looks so hot. No, I like. Oh. And he's already there in daycare. Yeah. I did.
All right, we'll get started on this Monday morning after the mayor sits down. We just gotta wait for the mayor.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Thank you so much.
What's that?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks everybody for, well, not everybody, but those of you that participated in the egg hunt. There still are a couple prizes that need to get picked up, so you could just contact Rebecca. Another item on the schedule is for Tuesday, April 16th from 3 to 4. In this room, there will be a resilient yoga session. So you are more than welcome to participate. It's sponsored by United for Waukesha Resilience Center. You do need to register in advance. So I would encourage you to participate if you're able to, and to register. How would you?
It's in the emails that I've sent and I'll resend it. So, and it's on work, the intranet.
The intranet. The next employee service celebration is for the individuals who have anniversaries in April, May, and June, and that will be on May 8th. And then another item is that on the 15th, there will be the annual employee lunch at EB Shirts. So I would really love to see all of you there. It'd be fantastic. I know Jeff will be there in his gold suit he just told me
Oh,
before.
man, now you're putting the pressure on. It can't be hot out.
It will be a taco lunch and the cost is $5. And we're asking individuals to RSVP if you plan to bring food.
What day is that?
May 15th,
Oh, okay.
May 15th.
You've got some time.
I was actually looking at April and I'm going, what?
I think the mayor was thinking about bringing some type of brisket or something, right, Mayor? Is that what you said?
Yeah, give me a box of brats.
Yeah, there you go. April 16th is the start of a new council year. So the mayor is in a great position where he gets to appoint the members of the common council to different committees.
And make
So we'll
everyone
see how that
unhappy,
shakes out.
including everyone in this room.
There you go. Couple other updates. One is the class in compensation study. I sent out an email, I believe it was last week. And the intention of that was just to get everybody up to date on the progress of the study. Nothing more, nothing less than that. And then for the strategic plan, that is in kind of draft stage. And in May, that will go to the Common Council for their review. Just a quick recap. We had a session with council, then with department directors, kind of went through the process of an internal review after Barry Dunn got us a draft. And then after that got back together with the Common Council and they reviewed it a second time. So once it goes to them in May, I wouldn't anticipate a whole lot of changes coming out of that meeting with them, but I guess we'll see. In the plan, I don't remember specifically, but there are 4 strategic directions. So once that is approved, we'll certainly come back to a forum like this or other places to make you guys aware of what's all included in the plan. And then last item is that over the next 3 weeks, Joe and I will be going to Joe, the finance director in the corner over there. We'll be going to departments, having actually a meeting today, meeting with the unions to talk about just the financial outlook of the city, because I think it's important that all of you understand kind of where we're at and kind of some of the strategies that will need to be developed moving forward. So with that, what I'm going to do here is go over the community survey results. And if you have any questions, stop me along the way, or any thoughts about things that you think are kind of interesting. Infrastructure are kind of the sprinkle that's on top. So like the rec programs and community design from planning. So it tries to look at that, but then also kind of some of the fundamental services that we provide. And this was developed working with the International City County Managers Association in partnership with the National Research Center at POCO. And what it does is it really looks at, and I'll get to this in a second, but these different areas of livability. And we're able to benchmark those against 500 other communities that did the same survey. So again, there's 10 central areas or facets of a community that it looks at. And it's a sample, or the report that we got is of 480 residents that were from January until late February. And the response rate was 17%. Right there. And it was weighted so that it's representative of the whole community. So part of the purpose of this is to be utilized for strategic planning, but then also for departmental planning, looking at different services that are provided. What are the priorities in the view of the community, and how do we adjust as a result of those things? So this is just the timeline. 3,000 households were randomly selected, and the survey remained open for 6 weeks. It was in both English and Spanish, and it became open to all city residents in mid-February. So that's probably an important point to note, is that it was on the website for anyone to fill out, but the only people that were included in the report were the people that were sent a letter to their household to participate in the survey. So when we go through the results, it's not showing every single person that filled out the survey. It's just people, again, who received a letter from the city saying, we'd like you to participate.
How is that comparatively, the online responses versus the mailed responses?
We didn't go through it because the way the report, we didn't go through it yet, at least. The way the report is set up is it provides a summary of all the people that responded. And then it has an appendix that shows the result of all the people who would have filled it out on the website. So I would guess that the results are probably very similar. But I don't know if Parks and Rec people went on there and said that Parks and Rec was the most important thing. I don't know.
They looked very similar. They looked overall similar. I mean, the reason they keep them separate is that, yes, you don't want people who just self-select, who maybe are either really happy about the city or really upset about the city. Those tend to be people who kind of self-select to fill out their survey.
Right.
So the reason why they do the random sample, obviously, is to try to get people who maybe wouldn't always hear from. But when, in glancing at the both results, because they do keep them separate, they looked fairly similar.
So the results, high level, you guys are all doing an awesome job. And it's a reflection of the results we see in this survey. So roughly 90% of that subset of people, that 480 people who responded, they said that Waukesha was a quality place to live. They would recommend living here to anyone, and they plan on remaining here for the next 5 years. So they rated that as excellent or good.
Tony, I think it's, I don't know if you mentioned it, but we did the survey 3 years ago and we're comparing them to those results.
Yep. So when we kind of move forward, when you see the results, it compares 2022 to this past time that we did it. So public trust and approval is on the rise. So despite what you guys hear kind of on a national or state level, and I think you see this in a lot of other polling too, at a local level, there's a higher degree of trust in local government. And that certainly bears it out when you look at the results here. Increased satisfaction in utility services, whether that's billing, garbage collection, or drinking water. That shouldn't be a surprise either, especially with the water project that just completed and all the good work that Dustin does as well with the solid waste collection. Economic strength remains high, whether it was looking at businesses, variety of businesses, vibrancy of the downtown area, which even in the short time that I've been here, that's one of the things that people have expressed to me pretty consistently, is that the downtown that it was maybe 10 years ago is a lot different than it is today. And it's a lot more dynamic. There's a lot more foot traffic, and overall just the visibility and viability and vibrancy of it is a lot greater. And then this is one certainly that Jennifer Andrews and I hear a lot about, is affordable housing and just the rising cost of housing in general. As a benchmark, what the kind of stat for that is typically you shouldn't be spending more than 30% of your household income on housing. And a lot of individuals are certainly going and surpassing that just with rental rates. And then also just with the increase in interest rates to purchase a house. So if you'll remember back to those 10 facets of livability, as we go through this, how this is kind of laid out, at the top of the page is the different livability category. And then flowing down from there is the different question, and then how people rate it, either excellent or good for that particular question. And as the mayor pointed out, the last time the city did this was 2022. And then it's just comparing it to 2024. And right under the percentage for this past survey, it'll say like similar, or I forget what the other categories are.
Higher.
What the higher or lower. And that is reflecting on that 500 other communities that did this survey and benchmarking against them. So if it says similar, that means that our rating is similar to all the other communities that did the survey and their response that they got for a given question. So place to live, and this is just kind of recapping what we talked about up front. Place to live, quality of life, recommending as a place to live, remaining here the next 5 years. Again, kind of in that 90% area. So definitely still a community that people see as desirable. this is all those categories, those different categories, and it's looking at quality and again, an excellent or good, and then comparing it against importance. So looking at the top here, out of the people who responded, 90% said that they viewed Parks and Rec as a quality service that's provided to the community. And then on the other side, they said that it is, 78% of them said it's essential or very important. Down from there, and I think the way they have this set up is really, it's the quality piece that's driving it. And then on the right side, you'll see that it kind of goes up and down based on the level of importance that an individual gave it. So not surprisingly, as I've heard a lot of people say, whether that's elected officials, community members, staff members, people that work in particular departments, that safety is the most important thing, followed by the economy and utilities. For the economy part, I mean, that's one that we have some amount of influence on, but there's a lot of other macro issues that are kind of out of our control. This is just, again, recapping the previous slide in a different way, so I'm going to scoot past that. So please rate how important, if at all, you think it is for the city of Waukesha to focus on each of the following aspects and services in the coming 2 years. So drinking water was the highest percentage. Would you probably care to guess why? Because the city's been talking about it for the past couple of years, right? So it's kind of like people are primed to think about that. And that's what they're thinking about when they're responding. Crime prevention, and then really police, fire services, snow removal, street repairs. That's kind of the top quartile, if you will. Is there anything in here that you otherwise find kind of surprising? And I know it's kind of hard to see, but is there any response that's either essential or very important that people listed here that you find is particularly interesting or otherwise?
Well, the bottom one being code enforcement is pretty interesting. Just let it be,
That's what I thought.
Yeah, nobody wants to pull permits.
just let it be wild, wild west out there, I guess.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that, and me and Rebecca were discussing it for a little bit, trying to understand what people were thinking of when they thought of code enforcement. And well, we got somebody, okay, there we go.
Interpret it as, we're doing such a good job, it's not even on their minds. So
I like it. There we go. There you go.
I wish, but like the number of complaints that we get says otherwise, so.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything you were gonna say, Maria?
I was actually gonna mention the same thing, I was surprised that it's so low.
Okay. Man?
Well, for bus and transit service, it's actually the most hit on our website. So when you talk about people being interested in it, yeah, a segment of the population is very interested in it, and then the rest don't really think about it.
Yeah.
And that's the same with code enforcement, I think.
Yep. Yeah, right. Typically, if you're taking care of your property and your neighbors are, that's probably the first thing from your mind.
So snow removal is really high, but there's an absolute recency bias with that because that was right during the blizzard.
Yep, it was
Yeah,
a couple of weeks after.
Yeah, how convenient was that?
I think that one's got to be taken with a little grain of salt.
I like this, the back row here.
I know, well, drinking water, I was kind of perplexed about that because it's like, there isn't a whole lot more to do. I mean, maybe the cost of it is what they're thinking about. But
I could see that. What's that?
That it's just important.
Yeah.
Isn't rated that high on that.
All right, so governance, this is just looking at, again, excellent or good. And I would say generally across the board, what you'll see is that from 22 to 24, the percentage has increased for largely everything. So overall direction of the city, value of services for the taxes paid, went out a pretty good clip as well. So overall confidence in Waukesha government is 57%, excellent or good. So that should be something we should celebrate and be proud of, because I think there's a lot of places where that may not be the case. Again, governance, and the way I would like to think about this is that over the past couple of years, whether it was intentional or unintentional, whether it's the increased communications or just providing a higher level of customer service, that all of these things went up. Honesty, open and transparency, informing the residents about different issues, treating everybody fairly, and with respect. I think that's, again, awesome to see that those are continuing to climb up. I'm hoping next time, guys, that we can get it a little higher. So under each of these, it says higher. Economy, place to work. I thought this was kind of interesting. So people who live here view the city as a better place to work than visit. I'm not quite sure why that would be. You guys have any thoughts about why that could potentially be? I just thought it was kind of interesting.
I think they probably go to, you know, I mean, for baseball games and basketball games and theater and stuff like that, they may go down to Milwaukee or Urban.
Lakes,
Yeah,
other areas of.
So you think it's like comparing it against maybe other metro places to go?
or just where they want to be, where they want to visit.
You take for granted where you're living. You're not visiting where you're living or working necessarily.
Grass is greener on the other side.
There you go. For the economy, again, whether it's variety of businesses and service establishments, employment opportunities, shopping opportunities, all that has, it's higher actually than that subset or benchmark against other communities. This is, again, talking about recency bias, Dustin, cost of living. The percentage of people that rated it excellent or good, that went down, which, given kind of some of the larger economic challenges that the country faces, that's not surprising that people rated that lower.
Tony, not to go back to the other slide, but how many people in this room live in the city of Waukesha?
Great question. Let's see raised hands here. So
Wait, you got your hand up. You don't live in Waukesha.
just trying to make a model for like raise your hand.
Just quickly.
Oh.
Honesty.
Boss.
Back to the honesty one.
There you go. Mobility, again, traffic flow on major streets. I'm guessing the gentleman back there in the corner who is sitting there looking at that probably likes seeing that number a little higher. Ease of public parking, which we'll see how this ends up fleshing out in the future, especially with paid parking at some of the structured lots, and in the future to be surface lots. So it'll be fascinating to see if that continues to kind of go on a downward trend. Ease of travel by car along with public transportation, that seemed to diverge a little bit. So people are viewing that it's easier to travel by their own car, but then the ease of using public transportation is lower, which on some level, it'd be interesting to go to this group of people that filled out the survey to see how many of them actually have tried to ride public transportation, because I have, and it's pretty easy to do. So to get from my house, I go on the Route 1 line, and it takes me from basically the Medical Regional Center in Waukesha out here in probably about 30-35 minutes. So I have no complaints. Then just biking, that went down a little bit. Not sure why that would be.
Because we've opened more trails.
Well, that's I guess why I'm surprised by that, because I would think that that actually would have gone up.
Yeah.
Ease of walking stayed about the same. Then just for all of these, again, similar with the exception of bus or transit services. So people rated that higher than our comparative group, which I guess that's pretty good, I would say. Community design, this is, I would say, very high, at 89% as your neighborhood as a place to live. And I'm viewing it as a quality of life. But then again, maybe it's not surprising, right? Because people typically, if they have the opportunity, move to somewhere because there's something about it that engages them to come there. So all the people who responded, they looked at it very favorably. Just kind of going forward, well-planned residential growth, roughly the same with commercial growth. A lot of these came in very similar. Again, there's where you see the affordable housing piece start to come in, where people are saying that that's more of a concern. That overall quality of new development, again, similar to the previous time. Utilities. So I don't know what happened in 2022. I'm thinking that this is around the time that waste management, we were dealing, well, I would say generally everyone in Wisconsin was dealing with the transition of them getting bought out, and the services were very bad. And if you lived in the city, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you start to see the impact of that, where it was 51% and jumped up to 82%.
Very wide, similar.
Yeah.
What's that?
So similar must be cover a wide range. It's
The similar is compared to the other benchmark committees, so it's not saying community, so it's not saying similar to 2022.
No, but I mean, say in the benchmark communities, it must be 50 to 90%.
No.
Or is it similar to that 82% is similar?
So it's saying that's,
Not the 51% might have been.
you guys bring up a point that I was really kind of curious about too. It's like, what's the range of lower, similar, and higher for that benchmark of 500 communities?
But it changes for each question,
Yep.
like for each
Yep.
one. So that's why like it could be, we can get 70% be similar, 80%, because it depends on how every other community answered that same question. So
Sliding.
people generally rate garbage higher, so that's why we're similar at 80.
Sliding.
Go for it, Joe.
Just a quick question, because, you know, a lot of our categories, there's some that are higher, but a lot of them are similar, and some could deduce that to be we're average. But my thought on that is, I mean, do you really think communities that think they're average to below average are participating in this survey? Because if they were, I would imagine we'd be higher than similar in some of these categories.
I think that's an excellent point. Like, if you're a community who cares about what your residents' opinions are, perspective is, priorities are, you're going to be doing this. But there's a lot of communities that I think probably just get mired in the day-to-day. And especially in Wisconsin, are constrained with the amount of resources that they have available. So this would be kind of one of the first things to go to the wayside if they're doing it. And a lot just frankly aren't doing it. The way I've always viewed this is kind of our report card to understand how we're doing. And then that kind of flows into kind of the planning piece of what we do moving forward. So it would kind of go into the strategic plan. It would go into departmental plans for what we do. Then drinking water, again, similar type of situation, that you had an ongoing, very current issue that people were thinking about at the time. And now it's gotten substantially better with the water project being complete. Safety, again, these have all largely gone up, whether that's police services, crime prevention, EMS services, fire services, all the above. So 77% have an overall feeling of safety in the city. Is that surprising? Did you think it would be higher or lower? Or that's about where you thought it would be?
I mean, I don't think it, I don't feel unsafe in the city. I mean, worse if I went down into Milwaukee somewhere on a Saturday night, you know, so,
Depends on the neighborhood.
right. And I don't really see that being in
Here.
parks, we're in every neighborhood. I don't really feel any different than any other neighborhood.
Speaking of parks, Park and Recreation, rated very highly as far as parks, programming, or rec centers and facilities available. You'll see off to the right, the overall quality of parks and recreation opportunities is very high.
Say gold medal.
Uh,
You almost say gold medal.
I tend to hear about a gold medal. I think every time I'm with a Parks Rec person.
Who
And
that'd be?
I heard that the activity guides that they put out are almost like collectibles for some people. Inclusivity, engagement, as a place to raise kids, generally the same, place to retire, somewhat went down, and then sense of community stayed about the same. So resident connection and engagement with their community, again, that was rated pretty highly at 58%. So next steps, what we'll do is, again, review the results and try to compare what the results are to what's in the strategic plan and say, is this generally consistent between the two? Are there any gaps that we're completely missing and that we should think about modifying the plan for? And then kind of make whatever adjustments are necessary. And then moving forward, the idea is, and has been, that every 2 years, we do the community survey to kind of just generally see where we're at. So the sharing of data, all of this will be on the website in the next couple of weeks. It will be in the email newsletter on Wednesday, April 17th. And then it'll be on social media on the same day with a link, and we'll also put out a press release. I think it's the day before, or is it the day of that we'll go to council with the
Yeah,
results?
it's right after the meeting.
Right after the council meeting, all this will be posted. So that's all I got. Did we get, yes?
Just curious, are there statistics based on, like who and what was actually reported on, like where these surveys are sent out to and like different demographics of
Oh,
people
yeah.
that respond? Because you could have like skewed results, because like, you know, you hear all the people on like Amazon reviews, like that give 0 stars because people are more apt to, you know, respond in anger than.
Yeah, so as a part of the survey, there was kind of a bunch of demographic information. And that, I believe, is in the
When you look at the
results
full
report.
results, which will send you a link to the full results, yes, it shows. So they purposely targeted all different areas of the community. And then there, you can see the demographics and the age. I mean, they purposely the surveys are mailed out based on that. And then they weight the results they get back based on using the census data to make sure that it is reflective of the entire community, or try to be as reflective as possible of the entire community.
Cool. All right. Just curious.
So I wanted to, and I forgot to ask Chief Thompson for a couple of bad jokes to tell. So does anyone have a good or bad joke that they would like to tell to end this off and start the week? Anybody? Here we go.
How do you get a tissue to dance?
Put a little boogie in it.
What a little bug in it. Thanks for coming this morning. I hope everyone has a great week. Again, the results are a reflection of everything that you guys do, so please keep it up.
So
Thanks.
we have a text.
Yeah.
I remember that one.